Hi everyone, so welcome to the fourth TGR Talks. I'm very excited to have Hugh Holland with us today. So not yet, but very soon. So yeah, I'm very super excited. And this is kind of like a little Christmas present from the Golden Race to you guys. So just 2 days or 3 days before Christmas. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And I hope everyone's doing well out there, especially in the UK. I know we had some depressing news about not, kind of canceling Christmas. So I hope you guys can all still have a great time and celebrate with your families. So that's that from that side. And then before I introduce Hugh Holland, to those of you who don't know him, I'm sure most of you know him who followed us, but I'll introduce him quickly. Before I do that, I wanted to give you some small updates on the Golden Race. So first of all, you might have missed the cutoff date for Christmas Eve now, so I wouldn't recommend to order anything on time for Christmas Eve, but you can for sure still order a lot of gift cards that we have. So up until the 25th, please order them. We have lots of amounts, so from £10 to whatever amount you would wish for, so that's all cool. And we have lots of new things coming up. So we have launched our new t-shirt Sunrise collection, so thank you so much for all your positive feedback. I was very impressed, and also for the great feedback you gave us that you, for example, want sweatshirts and stuff, so we'll for sure work on that. So if you have any other ideas what we're missing in the collection, we're super open to that and would love to hear from you on that. Then also big thank you for the guys who came out to Bournemouth. We had a pop-up shop there. We're still having, actually, it's still there. It's going on up to the 24th of December at around 4 p.m. So if you're around there, please have a look. It's in tier 2, so luckily they're still open. And yeah, thanks for everyone who came to see us also in person. We were there last weekend, the weekend before last. So it was also great to meet some of you in person again. And then finally, I just wanted to show you or share with you that we have a new artist that we work with. Her name is Emma Reese. Some of you might have already seen the items that we posted live on the website this week. She's based in Cornwall, so we're excited to have an artist that is finally, kind of local and based in the UK. She's not from Cornwall, but she studied there and kind of stayed there. Who wouldn't, right? It's so cool there. And she's focusing on lino cut prints. So I don't know if most of you might not know it, but it's very kind of an old traditional technique of doing prints. So please check out her Instagram, and she's really amazing, and we love her art. So we've got three prints on the website right now, but yeah, there's more coming up, so please check our Instagram or her Instagram as well. Cool. So now to Hugh Holland. So let me quickly introduce him before I add him to the chat. So that's just a quick summary. So Hugh Holland for us really captured some of the most enduring and beautiful kind of photographs of the birth of modern skateboarding. And between kind of 75 to 78, he documented the moment when kind of these bored surfers kind of took a children's toy and like used it in the kind of banks of closed high schools, empty swimming pools, and canyon roads in California, and really kind of tried to replicate surfing or riding waves in the ocean on concrete. I have also, by the way, here, Concrete Swell behind me, one of his great photographs that we're selling on the website, my favorite piece. And kind of whilst Glenn E. Friedman and Craig Stesick pioneered the kind of punk attitude of Dogtown Boys, Hugh Holland really offered a different aesthetic and different perspective on skateboarding. So he was more kind of focusing on the cinematic approach and gracefulness, and also captured kind of the youthful innocence of these kind of first skate rats. So yeah, I'm very excited to have him here. So I'll have a lot of questions. If you have any questions, please add them to the live chat. So let's see how many we get through. And we'll be talking kind of about his life and how he got into kind of photographing these skaters back then and what he's doing now. Yeah, so let me try to add him. Just give me a moment, please. So technology, let's hope it all works. So just a moment, guys. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me, Hugh?
What?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you. So I don't know if you listened, I just quickly introduced you to the guys who already joined us. Did you hear it?
What?
Sorry, you can't. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I loud enough?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Can I turn?
Maybe voice up, maybe volume up.
That's as high as it goes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll speak loud. Anyways, thank you so much for joining. I'm very excited to finally have you here. And we had a chat on last weekend quickly, so I'm very happy that I've met you now already. So as I mentioned, I've got a few questions already for you prepared, as you know, but we might have some few questions more coming up during the live chat. So if there's anything, I'll add them to it. But kind of the first question I would wonder to ask you is like, where are you originally from, Hugh? I don't know that anyways. And where do you live now? So kind of, yeah, where are you from?
Well, I grew up living in lots of different places, but my father was a minister, and but I call my home where I grew up was in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I left there in 1966 on my own. We're 24 years old, and came to California.
Okay. What made you come to California? Why did you choose California? Besides the beautiful weather and the
I
beach.
remember, other than everyone was going to California, it was a mass exodus of the young people. You know, at that time, 1966. I don't know. It wasn't anything. I wasn't unhappy with my life there in Oklahoma exactly, but I just wanted to change.
Amazing. Good.
I wanted to see what California had to offer.
Yeah. And you never left ever since.
Well, I've lived in other places, like mostly a lot in Mexico. I've lived in Mexico a lot, but I stayed in California.
And that's where you right now, right?
That's where I am right now. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And when did you start taking pictures? Like, was that in California, or were you already taking pictures back in Oklahoma?
I think I started back in Oklahoma just a little bit. I had one of my first jobs after high school, or and during college, was working in a dark room and delivering film to drugstores and stuff for this developing company. And so that's what first gave me an interest. Also, my little brother was into photography and had a dark room basement.
Oh, amazing.
And so he was first, and then I got interested in it. So yeah, I was a little bit interested, but I would not until the skateboarders came along I really had this big burst of it. But I was in my place in California in the 60s, late 60s and early 70s. I started a dark of my own in my house, and I did black and white in the dark room, and so I was shooting pictures of everything and anything that came around. So and just before the skateboarding, like in the early 70s. But yeah, in the late 60s, I went to Spain for a year. That was my first time out of the U.S. And I had my camera with me, but I couldn't afford film, so I didn't take much pictures. Any pictures. I lived a whole year there, practically no money.
Amazing. Sounds like a dream, though. Sounds really good. Yeah. And how did you end up then photographing the skateboarders? So you mentioned it really you took off with photography, but how did you end up? How did you have some friends, or like how did you end up photographing the skateboarders?
I don't know. They just seemed like a good subject. It gradually happened. It happened without me even realizing it in a way. I just did it. I was into photography, and I was busy I had my own business by that time. By 75 was when the skateboarding started. By 75, I had my dark room. I had my business, um, which was finishing furniture, doing custom finishing,
Yeah.
and designing and interiors and stuff. So I had a workshop with employees and everything, and that's a period of time when my shop was starting to do really pretty well. So
Mm-hmm.
for film and processing, and I could give prints and uh, and slides and things to the mostly prints, like, you know, I make prints and give them to the skaters. That's what they wanted. They wanted prints. They wanted to see
Ah.
themselves, you know. So when I first discovered the skateboarders, it was they were everywhere to start with. It was in I lived in Hollywood, and they were everywhere on the streets skating. And I said, "Wow, this is great!" And I loved the way they moved, the way they were, and so I shoot pictures of them as they pass by on the street or whatever. And as I do everything, you know, I'm a street photographer. I'm not a skateboard photographer. I'm a street photographer.
Okay. Okay. And did you ever try skateboarding yourself? You were not a skateboarder back then.
I did once, but I fell off the board, and I said, "No, I'm not going to break my leg." So I no, only once I tried.
Yeah, yeah. And then, you know, like,
Time I was 32, and I had never been on a skateboard. So I was 32. Ah, man, that's not that old, but
still
anyway.
pretty young. But all the skateboarders were much younger, yeah, right? And they kind of took you like as one of them, or were you still kind of outside of the groups? Like, how was the dynamic between you and these young kids?
Oh, it was great right from the start. There's no problem at all. Um, I had a camera with me all the time, and they wanted pictures because they were at that point just starting to go vertical and do unheard of tricks, you know, because of the new wheels. The polyurethane wheels had just come out,
Yeah.
and so and also there was a drought going on, so the swimming pools and the drainage bowls where I first started was the drainage bowls in the
Mm-hmm.
of Hollywood, in the between the Hollywood and the Valley, and up all the way down to Santa Monica in the hills. The hills were full, well, not full of, but I mean, every once in a while there was a drainage bowl, and those were the places they first started going vertical, and
Amazing.
they were everywhere. They were everywhere. At least I could see them because I was interested, and I photographed them.
Mm. And so I understand. So they saw you as someone who can maybe, you know, take amazing pictures of them and help them to become famous, maybe, I guess, right? And what was it for you? Like you did it because it was your passion, or did you ever think it would become such a thing as it is today? Or what was your kind of ambition in this?
No, I didn't have any thought about what it would become. My pictures would become. I was just having fun.
Yeah, just enjoying it.
They were having fun, and I was having fun. We were all having fun.
Yeah, amazing.
I was having fun taking pictures. We were having fun skating, and they wanted uh, proofs. You know, proof of their reaching,
Skills.
always reaching new heights. Finally getting air. You know, and um, so that no, they weren't interested in. They weren't interested in really in getting famous. That came a little bit later,
Okay.
another year or two after '75. Then they started going pro. And a lot of the skateboarders that were locals that in Hollywood and the Valley, those guys, a lot of them that I was photographing all the time, they were. Well, I was photographing because they were the best. They were really good, and they were there all the time. Out
Mm.
there. Well, they all became pros
Mm-hmm.
in '77. By '77, there was a great demand for professional skateboarders. You know,
Yeah.
so-called professionals. These were teenagers, but they were making money all of a sudden.
Yeah, out of the blue. Yeah,
You know,
amazing.
that's when I.
Yeah. And then, so when you took the pictures, were some of them kind of already for magazines? Not yet, right? You didn't shoot anything for magazines back then, or when did that ever happen back then?
Well, and I wasn't really looking to shoot for magazines, but I did get picked up by a magazine.
Approached.
A magazine called Skateboard World
Okay.
Skateboard World in I think 76 or so through 77. They 78. I was shooting some things for them. I didn't make a big deal out of shooting for them full time and being a magazine skateboard photography. I just did it off and on, and then for Skateboard World. And of course, the kids were really excited when they got in the magazine,
I bet they must have been very proud. And then one question I got from one of our followers, she was wondering, so did you really capture more moments, or did you ever compose the pictures? Like, was it literally just the moment and something happened, or were you planning to take some pictures?
Just the moment. Right in the moment. That's always that's been all my whole career, my whole life has been photographing street photography, just catching things when they're happening. And I'm not a technical guy. I'm not a technical photographer at all. I just have a camera and I have my eye, and skateboarding taught me. In skateboarding, I learned fast, like over a period of time, and like I said, I could afford to shoot a lot of film because film was costing
Expensive, yeah.
money to do, but I had the money, so I spent all my money on film and processing, and I shot hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures, which now are really something. They're kind of in demand. But those pictures, through those hundreds and hundreds of pictures, I gradually became instinctual about clicking at the right moment.
Right time.
Just clicking at the right moment, getting the right. I didn't care too. The sun was right in my eyes, or sometimes that came out. Some of my best pictures have the sun right on me, or I didn't compose or I've always liked to be invisible. I like to be invisible. I like to do candid shots. Like every picture is like a scene from a movie, like they're doing their movie and I'm
in the background somewhere.
Capturing it like a spectator that they don't even know is there. Right.
Super clear. Yeah, I totally understand. And then speaking about film, so one question I also got, what type of film did you use back in the 70s when you were shooting in color? Is it true? Someone said cinema film. Is that true?
Cinema film, yeah. Here we say movie film, but cinema film, yeah.
Oh.
It was a film that they used in the movies, the cinema. Eastman film, and I also used slide film, but I saved that for special things like the magazine cover or when I thought it was going to be a really good session that I should have it in. I did it in with slide film chromes, like Kodachrome. So I use Kodachrome or Ektachrome about 20% of the time, but the rest of the time in color. And I did black and white too, since I had a dark room and I could do black. I did black, but Yeah, and I just came out with the black and white. The black and white were seen for the first time 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and the book came out a year ago, the black and white book. And now my publisher says, he says, I think we should do another book because still got enough pictures to do color and black and white. Do a combination color and black and white of all new pictures that have never been seen before. Well, some of them a little bit because I'm starting to show a lot of pictures that I never did before now online and stuff. But yeah, I think that I could maybe I hope I could do another book.
Please, we would love that. And then someone was actually asking, do you have any unpublished B-roll photos that remain unseen? So there is definitely unseen material of yours, right?
Do I have any that are unseen, you say?
Yes, yes. So any unpublished photos that remain unseen?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots, right? As you said, like you showed so many pictures, there's so much.
So many. If I go back through all the slides and see that movie film, cinema film, was I got that in a lab in Hollywood called RGB. They were one of the few people that were offering that, and they had started by collecting, going in dumpsters and collecting.
Really?
I don't think better. They were in rolls of movie film, cinema film. They were on reels, so they didn't use all the reels, so they took the ends of it. They from all the, this was Hollywood, so they, from the movie studios, they collected end lots. They called them end lots.
Yeah.
And the end of the roll, and they cut them into sections and loaded them in cartridges for 35 millimeter camera. They were 35 millimeter film, and processed, and then you got slides, which were prints. The color slides were prints from the negative, like contact printed on from the negative.
Yeah.
So they had a color film, and for the same price as you normally would get color negative film just developed, and with a proof sheet, they would give you the slides as a proof sheet, plus the film and the slides. So I had the slides. That's what I took out. Those slides, I would take them out to the skating places and show them to the skaters. They would look at the slides, but it was negative film, mostly negative film on the color. And I decided early on that I still did lots of black and white, obviously. I mean, because that didn't come out until just now. But we decided that color. I decided way back then that color was because before that I was shooting almost all black and white by myself, because I had a dark room and I could do my own. And so now with color, I decided skateboarding is so colorful. I mean, and I did most of my shooting at sunset time because I was working during the day, and so they had that color. And then the movie film, the cinema film was what was I going to say?
Yeah, it was perfect for color. It was better for color, the cinema film.
The cinema film had a strange color to it, though. That's even nowadays, the people that develop film and print, and they go crazy with it. The colors are way different than what the print film is now. Color print film now.
Yeah. Is it still being used these days? Is it still being used, or is that completely not available?
No, it's a strange color. It was kind of warm, soft, had a warm, soft look to it, which actually turns out to be very fascinating and really nice. That's what people always say. What kind of film did you use? It looks so your pictures look like Southern California, warm
Yeah,
and
they do.
sunny. And well, one thing is there was a lot of smog. There was a lot more smog in the air back then in LA.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Smog and the sunset and the film gave it this kind of hazy, soft, warm color. And I've always liked that color ever since. Then when I shot, I didn't like the bright colors of the Kodachrome and the Ektachrome as much as I did the soft colors.
Hmm.
Difficult to work with at any lab nowadays. They just go crazy with that film, trying to get the colors balanced, because
Hmm.
they're different. It's very different. Eastman, it was called Eastman film.
Eastman film.
Eastman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for explaining that in so detail. Um, so
I
next
got
I was
carried.
what, say it again.
Oh, I said I got carried away. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. Super, super interesting. I think everyone appreciates it. So what happened then? So end 70s until let's say early 2000 when your first book came out, like what happened to the pictures? Were they all in a box? So what happened?
They were in lots of boxes. They were in boxes, and it's a miracle that they survived all those years, because I went to Mexico and lived for 10 years, and I did this and that, and that was different places. My pictures, meanwhile, stayed here in LA, and they were in friends' garages and
They could
and
have gotten lost.
storage things. And oh yeah, they could have easily, and a lot of them did get lost, but fortunately, almost all the skateboard pictures were intact.
Amazing.
It was 30 years later when I finally got discovered. The pictures got discovered, and I got discovered in a gallery, and that's when it all came.
Yeah, so how did you get discovered? How did it happen? So did you think about it, or did someone, how did someone who discovered you find the pictures? Can you tell us the story?
Well, my gallerist, Benjamin Trigano, he was at MB Gallery,
Mm-hmm.
was looking for a skateboard photographer it had been 30 years. It was 2005. And he had already been looking, he said, for a couple of years, and he'd interviewed all the photographers from back then, or a lot of them, that were doing skateboarding, were known to do skateboarding. And then he saw my pictures, and it just happened that that same summer of 2005, I also got discovered by Dove Charney of American Apparel.
Mm.
And he was just he saw my pictures in a party in New York, a private party in New York City in Manhattan, where he was, and they didn't know him. The people at the party didn't know him, and when one of my pictures was on the wall, just happened to be, because then not many people had any of my pictures at that time. They were still in boxes.
Yeah.
But I had a gallery. I was living in San Francisco, and I had at that time, in the early 2000s, I was living in San Francisco when I got discovered. And those pictures, I had a few pictures, and I had some other pictures of other things, street photography that I had in a gallery, a small gallery in San Francisco. And somehow these people in New York bought this picture and put it up in their apartment. And Dov Charney saw it, and he said, "I love that. Can I buy it? Will you sell it to me?" And they said, "No." They didn't even know who he was,
Yeah.
Where they got it, and he went to the gallery in San Francisco, or called the gallery in San Francisco, and my gallerist there in San Francisco, was a small gallery, said, "Well, Dov Charney from American Apparel really likes your pictures, and I think he'll buy a lot so you better start making some skateboard pictures." I wasn't even making. I had about 6 of them or so that I had out amongst other pictures, and like from Mexico, I did a lot of pictures in Mexico over the years, lots, street photography, and So the skateboard photography, um, when Dove Charney made a deal with my gallery and me to make posters out of them and put them as just as decoration, not to sell, just as decoration in his stores that he was opening all over the world at that time.
Understand.
Apparel. He was opening T-shirt stores everywhere, and so that summer of 2005, they spread all over the world in these stores, just decoration. And in West Hollywood, where the gallery, MB Gallery is, um, Benjamin had been looking for a couple of years for a skateboard photographer because he thought that was a big thing, going to be a big thing, because those two movies had come out, and Lords of Dogtown and all that, and
Yeah.
the Z Boys and all that had come out, and so there was a lot of interest. And so he and people that were teenagers back in the 70s were now, you know, able to collect art. And
The money to buy it.
30 years later, you know, some people, not necessarily skateboarders, but just people that worked in Hollywood in the show business and stuff, you know, in the movies and cinema.
Amazing. I had no clue that you worked with American Apparel. Super interesting.
I just that one summer. That was all
Just
it
one.
was. That one summer, they paid me, and the gallery got half, and I got half, and it wasn't very much.
Amazing. Yeah, but still.
But that's what got me out.
Yeah, yeah, because shops were all over the world as well.
Benjamin discovered me by seeing those in the local. So he called them and got my phone number in San Francisco. Called American Apparel and got my phone number, and he Benjamin really discovered me. Really put me in, and he says, I've got a gallery in LA, and I wonder if you'd like to have a show, have a show. So I think that you have the pictures for a show. And I said, sure.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? And I came down there. I came down here to LA, and wow, that show was really, really something. I'd never seen anything like that. It was paparazzi and people looking for autographs and everything. I was just like, I mean, I said, Benjamin, you are a genius. When we had the first night of the show, he says, you're a genius. He said, all this show, all this production, you know, it's a Hollywood production. And and he says, no, I'm not the genius. You're the genius. You created all this stuff.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah. Amazing.
So, yeah, so then it just went from there, and yeah.
Amazing. We're happy they found you. You mentioned the movies, a lot of Dogtown, Z Boys, and so on. So what do you think about the movies? And would you say they capture the kind of the reality of back in the time, or is it more kind of like Hollywood and not really what was happening? Or any thoughts on the movies?
Yeah, I think they did, and especially the documentary. I like the documentary better than Lords of Dogtown.
Of course, yeah.
It was cool, you know. It was cool. It's all right, but it was a Hollywood version of what happened. In other words, but they were both made by Stacy Peralta, and I photographed him several times, and he's back then, but we haven't gotten together at all nowadays at all. I keep thinking maybe we will one of these. We probably will. But Stacy Peralta was a really nice guy, and now he's a movie producer and stuff, and he did those two movies. He was a picture of him in Locals Only, you know, and also in the other one, in the other book, in Silver Skate 70s. There's Stacy's in there, and the other Dogtown Z Boys I shot them too a lot.
Yeah. So that was actually my next question. So you already answered it. Kind of, is there a link between the Z Boys and the guys you photographed? So you would say they were the same. Like there's overlap. It's not like the Z Boys and the guys you photographed. It's all the same gang.
Well, LA is a big spread out city, as you know. And where I started, it was in the Hollywood Hills. And that's where they were skating when I starting to do vertical and all that stuff. And that's where I really got fascinated. In these bowls, and they call them bowls, you know.
Yeah.
Drainage, they were drainage, storm drains and stuff. And then we moved to to swimming pools because there was a drought going on and people drained their swimming pools. And so they were always looking for swimming pools. And there wasn't any internet then. There was no communication like there is now. Sometimes you wonder how we managed to communicate. And
exactly. How did you meet up at what time?
I do wonder a lot right now how they did back then, because they communicated. And I met one group. It was a fluid group. It kept changing and stuff. But a group of skaters that was my first friends in the skate world. They were in Laurel Canyon in a place called the Mini Bowl and another place called Skyline Bowl. Those two places were the places I hung out first. But it didn't take long for we were going out to swimming pools in Santa Monica or somewhere. The word would get around. I don't know how. No internet, no email, no nothing. Just word of mouth. And the kids that would have cars, or they would all get in one car or whatever and go to some place, the new spot, you know, or wherever, and it might be an old spot, and maybe they feel like they wouldn't be welcome, you know, if they came from some other part, but they all were. And especially like those guys from Dogtown, the Z Boys, they were looked up to a lot back then, but it wasn't like now. They didn't have their own mythology like they do now, you know. But all the skaters knew about them and knew that they were really good surfing style. So they all kind of looked up to them, really, like Stacy and Jay Adams and Tony Alva and all of them. And so they were around all over the place. And halfway, like in West LA, they would meet. All the ones would meet from the ones from the Valley, would meet the ones from Venice, you know, and in West LA at the different spots like schoolyards. And so it didn't take long for me to get moving all over Southern California, and I went on out right away. Went down to San Diego. There was a contest going on down there in San Diego, so I went down there. Huntington Beach, and Orange County, San Diego County. Later on, for an article for the magazine, I went to San Francisco and did a thing about San Francisco. So I got to know people all over California.
Amazing. And someone is just asking, how was Jay Adams as a kid? So when did you get to meet him then, Jay Adams as well?
Did I get to meet who?
Jay Adams.
Oh yeah.
How was he as a kid or younger person?
Oh, he was just like you imagine him. He was a troublemaker. One thing I remember about him is when he was skating, it was hard to even pin him down to get a picture. You know, I mean, I don't have to pin him down. I mean, but he was just flying around. You know, like and he had his own, like Glenn Friedman and some others that photographed him a lot. By the way, I knew Glenn Friedman also in those early days when he was just really young and starting, and I was just starting also, but I was twice as old. But anyway, Glenn Friedman photographed him a lot. Other people photographed him, like Stis and other people. Jay, but I remember Jay in in places like Kinder School and other schoolyards, because they would come out to the schoolyards and even at some swimming pools. And Jay would say, he'd yell, "Hey, cameraman, get this!"
I can totally imagine that. Yeah.
Say, "Hey, cameraman, get this!" And so I'd rush over and try to, get it like, and he moved so fast though, and he was like, um, uh,
Yeah, I can.
Daredevil. He was doing Daredevil stuff, and half the time he would crash, just crash. But he got the shot because he got up in the air just at the right point where you click and get that really great shot, and then he would just, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So now going back to more right now, first thing I want to ask, what stuff are you working on right now? What projects, besides maybe doing another book? That would be amazing. But any other projects?
As far as photographing, I'm not doing anything in particular. Some young photographers or artists ask me, "How do you get it? How can I get in a gallery or book? Have a book?" They ask me that all the time. I say, "Well, just wait 30 years. That's what I did."
Yeah.
If
Patience.
But you have
Patience.
a series. Now it looks like you have to have a series of pictures that are all really good, and the only ones that I've done so many pictures of so many things, but they don't come together into a series yet that really catches the imagination of people. Skateboarding does. But I think that I will as time goes by. Like the pictures I took in the 70s have done really well. 30 years later, now 45 years later. But I have other series which maybe will take, like my Mexican pictures. Like right now, what I'm doing is photographing. It's because of the even before the pandemic started, I was going down to my local beach, which is Hermosa, and I'd go to usually Hermosa or Redondo, the beaches here on the South Bay. I would go to the beach and walk, and I don't have a car now. I would just take an Uber or something to the beach, and I still do, and I'm doing that still, even during the pandemic, and especially during the pandemic. That's all there is to do, and I would go down and take pictures. Right now, I'm taking pictures of people with masks on their face, and and who knows, that might be a good series 30 years from now.
For sure. I hope it's going to be the past at some point.
No, but the skaters are out there. There's skaters everywhere, as you know, and especially at the beach. So I'm taking pictures of skaters too, but just skating around in a whole different kind of. I always call it Back to the Future. It's my new project, Back to the Future. I think of that movie, Back to the Future. The town I used to hang out in where the beach towns are now. I used to back in the 70s too, and shoot skateboarders, but not. But now, the skateboarders look the same pretty much. I mean, but the whole town is different. The activity is different, and even the skateboarders look different. The way they dress stuff, sure, but something, the way they dress. That since my skateboarding pictures have become popular, the people that have shown the most interest in them commercially to do events and stuff are fashion people.
Yeah.
Fashion companies. I guess it's because what goes around comes around. Like tube socks are back in, or short shorts for men, and
Yeah. I mean, the jeans they were wearing, they're amazing. Yeah. I think that's
why Dov Charney, when he saw that one picture in New York, he said, "Oh, the clothes, the tube socks and the shorts and the, you know," and he says, "I've got to have that," you know, because he was a,
Yeah.
you know,
I actually have some of those socks from American Apparel. Actually, now I know where he had the idea from.
yeah.
Okay, clear.
I said, "Oh, the tube socks." I said, "I never did like the tube socks that much." He says, "Oh, I love them. I'm getting some tomorrow."
Amazing.
Whatever,
Actually,
you know,
yeah.
tube socks. It's the newest thing.
Yeah, it was. So someone is actually asking, someone is asking, did Vans ever approach you to use any of your images? Vans, like
What?
the brand? Vans, the brand? You know, yeah, Vans. Did they ever approach you?
Yeah.
Did you do something with them? No, right? No.
Um,
Vans.
I did back in the 70s, in 76, I think 76, I did one ad for them. I think it was one of their first magazine ads.
Hmm.
And it was, I shot the skater that was for the ad. What was his name? I can't remember his name. He was a champion freestyler.
Hmm.
Ah,
Oh,
oh,
we
yeah.
probably don't know him.
But anyway, I shot him at the skate park, you know, and that was, and then Vans has always like been kind of elusive for me. They wanted to use a couple of my pictures on their 100th, or no, not 100th. What am I saying? When it's some kind of anniversary or something a couple of years ago. No, it's
Yeah.
about 4 or 5, actually 5 years ago, maybe. They contacted me and wanted to use a couple of my pictures, but I couldn't agree on a price with them. They wanted to pay very little to have complete use of the picture, billboards, television,
No.
you know,
Hmm.
and I can make more. I could make more than that selling one fine art print, you know.
Hmm.
Although,
Good decision.
yeah,
Good
although
decision.
I sometimes wish I had done it because, but anyway, but yeah, I'm still thinking about Vans. They know who I am, of course,
Hmm. They know
and
where to find you.
they are just a huge, huge enterprise now with the skateboarding, especially and surfing and stuff. But yeah,
Great, great. And one question is, are you still in touch with any of those? Well, some of them you mentioned, but any of the skateboarders that you photographed, who are you in touch with? So you said Stacy Peralta, maybe you'll sometimes in touch, or you
I
have
have
spoken to him.
Stacy. No, I'm not yet. I haven't met him.
Stacy, not.
Sure, he thinks the same thing, probably. Yeah. He's in both my books, like, but and all that. He seems like a really nice guy, so maybe I'll meet him one of these days.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, I've met a lot of the same ones I used to know. Re-met them now in these last 15 years, especially they just really recently, like since the black and white book came out, because the black and white book had a lot of skaters in it that hadn't been seen, and the black and white pictures are great, and people because the black and white book has a feeling about it that's different from the color, of course, but it's more informal. I think part of that is because when I was shooting black and white, I was just more like doing snapshots. You know,
Mhm.
was less expensive. The black and white was less expensive, and I had my dark room. I could do, you know, prints and stuff. But the color, I saved that for really I did the color when I thought I really needed to do color, and I did a lot of color. In fact, I did more color than anything else than black and white. But the black and white, uh, those those people came back and or have come to me, you know, through the internet, through social media and stuff. People have come to me and now we've become friends. A lot of them that I was just, even though I was shooting a lot of them, I really wasn't um, that close. Like I said, I always like to be the invisible photographer, you know, cameraman. Hey, cameraman.
Hey, cameraman, look what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Amazing. But I guess it's nice to catch up with them like now and see what they're up to and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, one question, what someone asked this question. So I've asked some of our followers for more questions. So this one you haven't seen yet, but someone was asking, which message would you give to an aspiring younger self? Sorry, maybe difficult question.
Which question? What?
So which message would you give to an aspiring younger self? Does that make sense?
Uh,
To yourself, like if you could give yourself some advice back in the days, or let's say you back to your 30-year-old self starting to take photography, anything, any advice you would give yourself?
I've told people, but back then I was not. I mean, I told them to be patient and just wait for 30 years, and then everything comes into its time of nostalgia. But no, what I would tell myself back then, I don't know, because I was not. Like I said, I was just having fun, and maybe that's the best thing. Um,
Yeah, if you
I had my work that I did, my own workshop, and that. One thing I regret, this doesn't have the thing to do with the photography, but I regret that I didn't use those facilities in my workshop to do my own art more. I did art for other people, like to their orders, decorators, designers, and stuff. I did custom art, but my own art, I had all the materials and everything to do anything I wanted, and I didn't do anything for myself.
hmm.
But I did have a dark room, and I was starting photography. Now the photography's, of course, taken over, and all I do is now is just organize, and which I hate. I hate organizing
Me too.
files, and negatives, and scanning and stuff. But that's my work now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and, keeping track of all those pictures from the past. But I'm still taking pictures. No, I don't know what I would tell somebody. I would tell myself from back then exactly. I'm pretty uh, satisfied with the way I did
That's
things.
amazing. That's a good message to you. I know I've taken a lot of your time. Can I ask two more questions? Is that okay? Two
Yeah.
more very short ones. So one follower was asking us, I mean, she thinks the skateboarding was more a male thing back then. Like, was there any female? I mean, I think you had photographed some female as well, but how was the balance and were there women around?
Not very many.
Hmm.
Not very many.
Why?
That's
Why?
about the movie, that it showed girls around with them all the time, but that wasn't. They weren't. It was all male. It was all kids, but they were all male. It was not. I hardly ever saw a girl, but there were girls, and there were girls skating. And so at contests and stuff, there was a few girls, but not many. Not like now. Now it's a lot more.
Hmm. Do you think there was a reason, or was it just the women were maybe not so interested back then? It was not there. Yeah, no one knows. But today it's such a big thing, isn't it?
Uh, yeah. Uh, Cindy Whitehead is a good friend of mine now, really good friend. She lives here close, and she has been a champion girl skating, and she's opened my eyes about a lot of stuff. She said when she was around when I was taking pictures, but she was young. She didn't become a big name or something. She got to be a pro. Cindy Whitehead. She has her thing is called "Girl is not a four-letter word."
Hmm.
Uh, she makes a lot of clothes and skateboards, and
Oh, I'm gonna check her out.
yeah, Cindy Whitehead. Girl is not a four-letter word.
Girl is not a four-letter word. Okay.
Her logo. Girl is not a four-letter word, and her book is called "It's Not About Pretty."
Love it. That's really good.
Well, she's a fantastic firebrand of a woman now, and she told me that she started skateboarding because her brother was, and she always wanted to prove that she could do anything he could and do it better.
Oh, a good reason. I love it. Yeah, that
Her
could be me.
brother, he says, I had to prove that I could do it better than him. Everything,
And she managed. She
she's
managed, no?
still like that. As she says, she's a badass. I'm a badass.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, Hugh, last question. So that was someone who's like listening to us. She's asking, can you tell us the story behind the concrete swell picture? Is there anything special about the picture? Like, what kind of day was it? Who is it on the picture? Do you know?
That guy, I took a lot of pictures of him, but I have not heard anything from him. I think that he wants to, for some reason, doesn't want to be known anymore, be out anymore. He was a surfer, young, and when I took that, he was about 16 or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he had a lot of style, as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Pictures of him, you see him. He's several times in both books, and that one though turned out to be a really, really good one. It was like a big bowl. We call it the Hollywood Bowl, it was by the Lake Hollywood. And it wasn't his local place because he was from the west side. He was from, the west side of LA, up in the hills. But this was in the Hollywood Hills where I took the picture. I had taken him down there in my car, and I remember that. But other than that, to this place, it's a big, big bowl. This was a big place. And Harry was skating, him and a friend. And and that last picture that I showed that's not in the book that you were showing on Facebook or on Instagram,
Yes.
the one with a big bowl and this one skater in the distance,
Yes.
that's the same day as this one here.
Ah.
And that was his friend. That was the other one, was his friend. So both of them looked like ballet on concrete, I called it, ballet on concrete. Just
Amazing, amazing. Actually, someone said he's called Jeff Jones.
Jeff Jones. Yeah,
Jeff Jones.
Jeff Jones.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. Okay, great. That's it with my questions. I don't want to, it's almost an hour now. I'm sorry for taking so much of your time, but it was so cool. I'm so happy I've met you. I hope we can do this again, maybe when you have your next book coming out. If there's going to be one, please. We would be so happy to have another book.
Yes.
Please.
And sometimes one day we'll see each other in person.
Yes. So I don't know, for everyone who is listening and is a big fan of you, from the beginning, I wanted to convince Hugh to come to London to do a show. So hopefully once the whole nightmare of coronavirus is over, we can get you to London and do some fun stuff.
Great.
For sure. Or we come to California. That's anyway one of my first thing I'm doing once we can fly again. I'll be in LA.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a lovely Christmas as well, please.
What?
Have a nice Christmas time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay healthy and safe.
All right.
Okay. Then let's finish off. Thank you so much for your time. And thanks everyone for joining as well, who listened. Bye-bye.
Bye.